Good afternoon. This is the Harbor Management Commission's Mooring Committee on Tuesday, March 14th at 5:30 p.m. Attending by phone, Bill Perugini and Kim Taylor. In person, Brian LeClaire, Harbor Master, Jeff Warren, and Jack Hirschler. A member of the public on the line, Pat Carroll. We have a flag. Why don't we let's pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge the United States of America to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice
for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
On tonight's agenda, the first item is a report from the Harbor Master. Mr. Harbor Master.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could all of you hear me okay online?
Yep,
Well
sounds
done.
good.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
So we are busy with the renewals, and as of this moment, we have 5 boats that are not have not submitted all the paperwork. Of that, 4 of them are just registrations, and one of them is his registration and the insurance. That's Dr. Christie's boat because he purchased a new boat. He's about the same size, from a 23-footer to a 21-footer. He was just picking it up, so he'll be submitting the paperwork for the new boat. The good news is he can stay in his same spot. That won't cause an issue. And then of the other 4, one of them may not come back, and I'll get to him in a second. That's Mr. Wilcox. I could talk about him in a second. But it looks like I've got I know who's coming back except for those 5 that are waiting on random pieces of documentation. Everything else is in and renewed. So again, we have one, Dr. Christie, who's getting a slightly smaller boat so he can stay in the same spot. We have one vacancy we're aware of. Mr. Accomando declined renewal, so West Wall 09 will be open. He had a small sailboat there last year. Mr. Wilcox, who's at North Wall 04, will know next week whether he's coming back. He's moved to Milford, and he's trying to get a spot in Milford, and the Harbor Master may have a spot for his boat. So if so, he'll put it up there rather than driving back and forth to sail out of Southport. So we may have another spot available.
Where's that one?
NW04.
Oh, it's another wall.
Another wall.
Okay.
04. I spoke to, as you know, Mr. DeCalise, who was at Midwall 1, got a new boat. He now has a 41-foot regulator with 2 outboards on the back, or 3 outboards which stick up, which make it even bigger. I was going to move him from 1 to 14 on the midwall. 14 has 2 helixes holding that mooring in, which is good. Second is the boat that we stuck last year at Midwall 14 was Mr. Kinney's boat. You remember we pulled a sailboat out of there and put him on the main helix area. And he has a smaller boat. His boat is about 29 feet 6 inches, so we ought to be able to do a swap with putting 14 to 1 and 1 to 14, which I think will work. And I've talked to the club about making that work.
The new power boat would be on the helixes that way?
He would be on the helixes because he's a bigger, heavier boat. Yep. And more maneuverable. That's the spot right by one of the ideal floating docks, and it's hard to get in there with a keel boat. Yeah. Easier if you had rotating, engines, sophisticated system. The other one I'm looking at. So now we have one possible. Well, I should also back up. There are 2 vacancies at the dock at Pequot right now, which they have not filled yet with vessels. So depending on who they put in there, if boats come out of the North Anchorage, that doesn't help me. But they may be taking boats out of the Helix area. If that's true, I'll have 2 more spots available to put people into for big boats to move folks around.
That'd be great.
The first boat on the waiting list is Mr. Grabos. He is riparian. He has got a Whaler 320. I spoke to him this week. He would accept if we give him a spot. It's a power boat, 33.5 feet with the engines down, so it's a big boat with the engines tipped up. Now, as you know, with the power boats, we have to take into account those big outboards on them. The new, trend in power boats is big boats with big engines. He draws 24 inches, so we have to see whether we can get him in this year. He's certainly not going to fit in WW09. And he's not going to fit in, I don't believe, in NW04, so we have to look at that.
We usually don't, Kim, correct me, but my recollection is we don't usually put power vessels in those helix moorings because they just
we
there's
don't.
too much depth there.
We don't because it's a lot of depth. And number two, in your harbor management plan, it talks about maintaining the visuals for that area off of Perry Green with sailboats and not power boats.
They're also beamy, and so it'd be very hard to get sailboats between if you've got a beamy power boat right in the middle of that.
And that's our deep spot, so we need that for the large boats. Right. You know, we have the 40-footers up to 50-footers in there.
Right.
So
he may or may not get. So if his boat is not suitable, then we've got some. I believe we have some decent-sized sailboats.
Yes. So the weight
go into those.
Yeah. So
if they get vacated,
he's first. Following him, we have Mr. Bailey. Conrad Bailey has a 43-foot sailboat.
Right.
Then we have a 20-foot power boat, which would probably be, grab one of those wall moorings easily, followed by a 36-foot sailboat, another big one.
Could go.
So if two helixes free up, I can ideally get two of the big sailboats in there, and at the same time get the next two on the list, the two small power boats, a 20 and a 25-footer could work out nice. Right. I don't think I could fit, and we're working on this, I don't know that I'm going to be able to fit that big whaler, that big 35-foot, 34-foot whaler in there, 35-foot with the engines, 36 perhaps. So we'll have to see what we can do to make that. The other new thing is, remember the wall moorings are coming out at the end of this season, so that's a chance to adjust if necessary, and we could scooch some and move some of them back in to make more room for a bigger power boat if we need to.
Those they're not helixes, so they can be moved, and I thought that Jeff does move them to accommodate the boat. If the next boat in line was big.
They can make little, but if we need to move a whole line or
that would be
something,
we
can't do anything major at this point.
Right.
So I'm optimistic we can get a number of boats in this year.
So when is Pequot gonna get a go-no-go on those two?
Soon, I hope. I've been asking them, and they haven't. And whatever their process is, hasn't occurred. Whoever has to make that decision, I don't know how they have to run it up their flagpole to do that. So that is all under control. Having, knock on wood, no issues with the software. My second time around using it, it's I'm finding it quite user-friendly, frankly. I never thought I would say that, but it works great.
Good.
So we're also, as you know, I'm having my first Coffee with the Harbor Master open house at the work shed at Yee Yacht Yard Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11:30. We'll have coffee. Jeff Stedman is very excited, and he'll be coming with some drawings, and he's there to talk about the dredging, to anyone who wants to talk about dredging and show pictures.
I haven't looked at the forecast. What does the forecast look like?
They just changed it. It was supposed to be
a blizzard, right?
No, it was supposed to be little showers.
Okay.
But they've now made Saturday's forecast to be 51 degrees and partly cloudy.
Fantastic. Sounds like sailing.
Right. Good.
Yes, I sent emails to everyone in the North Anchorage, everyone who had a mooring, everyone who's on the waiting list,
and the
docked people at Pequot.
Okay.
And the newspapers have picked it up. Both the Patch and the other one have had two newspapers now have had articles.
And didn't it also go into the First Selectwoman's thing?
Was it in there? I don't know. I know. Don Hyman has been promoting it. We sent him a picture. A press release, so a lot of interest, and it's been on Facebook. It's on Facebook.
Maybe that's where we saw it. Yeah.
Come meet the harbor master.
Yep, coffee with the harbor master.
Complain to the harbor master all winter long. Related to the available moorings, we had a discussion about the Perry Green moorings administered by Parks and Rec, and whether we could get an agreement from them to let them be administered by the commission and the harbor master and not leave these things vacant in future years.
Nothing further on that, no.
Nothing further.
And I actually I didn't move. I spoke to Mr. Sabia, who, interestingly, if you look at the paperwork, I noticed this last year, has his powerboat sitting in the harbor master spot, they call it, at Perry Green. They have one spot available for a harbor master boat. And at the same time, he actually was never there. He was sitting in one of the spots administered by the town, by Justin Cathcart. But on paper, he was in two different spots. And it turns out he was paying half the fee to both of us. So I spoke to him, and he agrees he just does not need a mooring from the harbor, so we're dropping him off of our records. He's just going to get his spot through the town of Fairfield.
Okay, but, right, so that's...
He understands.
Yeah, so, but we're going to see if we can get Justin's crew to agree. Let us take those away because they're on a different schedule timing-wise,
and they don't
fill them.
They don't fill them. There's 3 empty spots.
He doesn't get. He explained to us when Brian and I met with him last year that he doesn't get around to thinking about the Perry Green moorings until sometime in May because he's dealing with everything going on at the marina, and then he's dealing with the yacht yard, and he just doesn't get to those. By that point, people have made decisions, and so it ends up not getting filled.
He's done all the South Benson, which is done. Now we all got the renewals for our dinghies that we have to pay for yacht yard. That's due next 24th, I think,
right.
23rd. And then after that, I don't know what
it's a crazy time for him, and it would just make more sense for us to maintain those and put them in our waiting list and fill them through our system rather than have a handful of moorings that aren't administered that way. So, all right, so we're going to continue to follow up to see if we can get them to agree to that. I think the deed, Kim, is that right? The deed says that Parks and Rec is responsible for administering those?
Yes.
So we just need them to delegate.
The Perry Green, yes.
Right, so we just need them to agree to delegate that responsibility to a
different... Yeah, it's very easy to add moorings to the software, PG moorings.
I think they're in the system, they're just not assigned by us, right? Yeah, we just are waiting for him to tell us who's on them, which is just crazy system. So. All right, well, this seems like something we should be able to work out with them. The other thing is that the charging scheme was different they were paying different fees than our people at the same kind of moorings. It's kind of silly. Kim?
So Brian, a question. The folks, is there anybody who is an out-of-towner who has a mooring we might need to put in a word with Justin so that that person could park at your yacht yard and keep a dinghy there to get to the mooring? I think that kind of falls on us every year to let Yee Yacht Yard know that we have out-of-towners who are going to be using the moorings.
Justin and I talked about that last year, and what we do is when we let a new person come in the harbor with the boat, I tell them who that person is as a courtesy, and then he knows to offer them, if they're not a Pequot member and they have a dinghy, offer them a spot at Yee Yacht Yard. And then,
okay, good.
And then you apparently keep your spot under his system at Yee Yacht Yard forever, even if you lose the mooring.
Great.
Really?
Which at some point we're going to run out of spots, if in theory, unless people just completely move, and then why would they want a dinghy?
Right.
Or just assume they take their dinghy with them.
The boat's gone, then why do they leave the dinghy there?
Yeah, but so I tell him once I know the people, who they are, so that he can make arrangements to get them a sticker.
Okay. Great.
The next item that's on the agenda is a conversation about the idea of having video cameras to keep an eye on that edge of the harbor that's not within the camera range of the Pequot Yacht Club monitoring cameras, and you had an update on that.
So I have an update. I went there, it was 2 weeks ago, this Friday, I believe it was Friday. I met at the site the town's IT director, one of his assistants, and the town's vendor for surveillance cameras. And first I talked to Justin and I talked to Fairfield PD Marine Unit about it because they have an extensive system of cameras at South Benson. And they showed me some of the technology, you can call it up on your phone, etc. So we're going to be getting a quote. The commission will be getting a quote from the vendor for putting cameras up. We took a look at the workshop. It has power, which is very good. It has a spot to put a camera, and they feel the best spots to put cameras, and these are 360-degree cameras that we would then tell them what we want. They're not going to be moving. If the old technology was moving cameras, now they have multiple heads, and then you tell them what degree angle you want to be on the cameras. Was to put one of them on a post at the shed, and second, to put a second camera array at the pole, at the old light pole where the light fell off. There's a metal pole by the fish wash station at the top of the metal ramp that goes down to where Goose and Gander are, the second dock at Ye Yacht Yard, the metal dock. And he says if we do the cameras there, we'll be able to look up the harbor all the way towards Pequot and along that area. And the other one will be able to look out and over both Lower Wharf as well as the dinghy dock area. And the police like that idea because it'll let us see anyone going in the water or any activity at the Lower Wharf, and at the same time being able to monitor the dinghies and, in fact, the parking lot if they're configured properly. These wouldn't be for the public. We talked about that. These would be only security cameras that only me, the police, and those with permission can see. They're not going to go up on the town's public website for everyone to see because of the nature of what they're going to show. But the vendor added, he said, well, once we get this set up, if you decide to go this way and, we get your Wi-Fi line in there and everything, you can easily, when he gave me the name of some vendors, you can easily get your own camera or weather station like Conservation has and stick it up on my pole, and that would be fine. So we can, and he goes, they're inexpensive and it's easy to do, and then the town will let you take that signal and put it up on the website. So I talked to Conservation. They have they have a weather station that's tied into Wonderground, the Weather Underground website, where and they don't think they even pay any money. They just think they bought the camera, and somehow it appears on that site where people can go and check out wind speed and things like that. So we might be able to do something like that I'd like to get a wind indicator and a wind speed indicator down there so people can know before they go what are the winds and what's the weather conditions at Ye Yacht Yard coming in. Might give you a good feel for what's happening. Yeah. At the same, we can get a camera, an inexpensive camera, and put it up so folks can decide what, maybe just looking out into the sound at the same time. So these are kind of pieces that are in play. We have to see what the cost is first. The good news is there's power. We spent a lot of time looking for the power and a location to mount the hardware, and they're both there in the shed, and there's power at both locations where they would put the cameras.
So would those cameras become part of the police department network? Or?
They would go on the police department network, this town secured network.
They're responsible for administering and maintaining.
They would have access to them. I don't know how the administration and maintenance works, if that's the commission that does that. I'm not sure at this point how that would work.
The IT director would know.
The IT director would, right. They come under him, but they can't be public because, of their nature. But that'd be useful for us. We'd be able to really keep an eye on what's happening down there all the time. Storms kicking up to look, everyone likes that idea.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great, but I worry a little bit about having a group of volunteers be responsible for cameras like that. We just don't have the expertise, and I guess we would have to rely on whoever it is maintains the cameras down at South Benson.
Are you talking about the ones that would be the police ones, or the one that we would set up with a weather? Which?
No, I'm not talking about the weather. Just the first two.
The first two, yeah.
The first two, yeah.
So we should.
That'll be part of the proposal. What maintenance or what?
Who's responsible?
Does what? Is it just IT that takes care of them when they need to be rebooted or whatever?
Yeah.
They also could be pricey, from what it sounded like. It could be this is just beyond.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Well, one of our commissioners serves on another board that has recently gotten a grant for about $7,000 and he asked me, a month or so ago, if the commission had any projects that he could apply the $7,000 to, and I said outside of the Lower Wharf we really didn't have anything going on. And after Brian suggested that we take a look into cameras, I went back to him and said, check in with your grantor. And so he's in the process of doing that. So we might, I emphasize might, have $7,000 that we could spend either for the public weather station view of the harbor, or I'm not, depending on what that grantor says, but there might be some money out there. So fingers crossed.
Once we get the price, the next conversation is, with the police and with IT, but you have funds to chip in on this since you're benefiting it as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's not it does benefit the harbor. You know, we do have the 102 account that we are authorized to spend money to benefit the harbor. So
clearly a safety issue.
Yeah,
safety,
exactly.
It's a service issue too, you know, to the boaters before they go out.
Right. So.
Yeah. Well, the security one, they wouldn't be able to see those, but but the argument for that is a pure safety discussion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Total safety.
Okay. Can we have an update on the committee's search for deputy harbor master? That's the next item on the agenda. Mr. Perugini?
Yes, yeah, we do. And forgive me if I'm going through a bad range here. So we received an abundance of inquiries. Almost all who inquired ultimately applied by our February 15th deadline. Of those who applied, we are currently in the process of reviewing their credentials, qualifications, and critical skill sets. We hope to begin the interview process at some point over the next couple of weeks. I'm away for the balance of this week and next, but once we could come together on a time, we will reach out to those candidates. I have personally contacted everyone who has applied and apprised them just very briefly of the process, acknowledging that their applications have been received, and also reinforcing the fact that there is no compensation currently budgeted for the position. As a consequence, only 3 have withdrawn their applications, and essentially that's where we stand at this point.
Any questions? Comments? Anybody? Okay.
Nope.
I believe there's 7 applicants remaining.
7 remaining, right? Yeah. And I guess next week we'll get an update on any update on planning for interviews. Yeah. Any other new business for tonight? I think we're in good shape. We'll hear quickly, I hope, about those 2 possible placements from possibly the town moorings into Pequot's slips, and that would be terrific to take.
Probably all kinds of infighting going on.
Yeah, I don't know if that's some seniority or something. I'm not sure how that works.
How are you defining seniority?
It's not shared with me.
All right, yeah, okay, all right. It doesn't. I just want the solution to be one that might open up a spot for us to place. That benefits everybody. I mean, that it's just good to get people moving off the waiting list.
And just to everyone, so you all know, as a number of you do, the Pequot Yacht Club has a new launch, which is getting fitted out right now, and they're going to christen it in the name of Patrick L. Carroll. And they're going to be having at their 103rd commissioning on May 21, 2023, it will be christened, and I think it's a great event to go to because Pat will be there, and Pat will be there for his 100th birthday, or shortly after his 100th birthday.
Oh.
So, Pat, you missed, I guess, 3 christenings because they're having their 103rd christening, or commissioning, rather.
You missed 3 of them?
Must have missed 3.
Pat.
So it's quite an honor. I couldn't go there.
Congratulations on that honor, Pat.
Thank you much.
Yeah.
So I think we should all, for when the PLC gets...
I'm quite honored.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Yeah.
So we should all, and I've seen a picture of it. It looks beautiful, the boat with the name on the stern. It's spectacular. So we should all make sure
Picture of me that looks beautiful, or the boat that looks beautiful?
Both.
So you should put on your calendars May 21st, 2023, because the christening will occur. I think that's something nice to...
Very nice.
Showing that.
All right. Anything else for tonight? All right, hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.